Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. Today, we have a very special guest with us today. They are a press-on nail artist. Please welcome CK Designed It. Hello, CK, and welcome.
Hey everyone, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah, glad to have you on the show. So, I want to go ahead and get started by asking where you're originally from and tell us a little about your upbringing.
So I'm originally from the Dallas, Texas area, a
Okay.
town called Plano. I grew up there, kind of stereotypical Texas, like played a lot of sports growing up, was a big tomboy,
Mm.
cheerleader for a while, played softball. Yeah, I don't know. It's Texas. Ate a lot of good barbecue.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. So, what was like your school experience like in terms of like grade school, college, and things like that?
Yeah, so in Texas, we it's kind of the same stuff. You got elementary school, middle school, all that stuff. So I did, the standard schooling. Then for college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but right as I was graduating high school,
Mm.
I kind of got really heavy into video games and like Halo 2,
Mm.
and I ended up coaching a pro team on the Major League circuit, which Major League Gaming is like a big US based gaming circuit here.
Mm.
And so I thought my career path was actually going to be video games
Mm.
and sort of getting into that in the professional sense. But it was still relatively new in the US
Mm.
and it didn't have the backing like it did in Asia with all the big arena tours that
Right.
they would do for all the different games. So it was one of those things that I was like, it's early days. I can either stick this out or I could like choose another career path. So I ended up picking advertising and doing graphic design and art direction. And I went to ad school in Atlanta, Georgia
Mm.
for 2 years at Creative Circus. And I learned all about the wild world of advertising and how to make ads and TV commercials and billboards and integrated and then eventually social and all sorts of things.
Mm.
And I, have been working in advertising for kind of the last 15 years
All right.
until about the pandemic. And that's kind of my schooling.
All right, that's really, really cool. So I want to go ahead in terms of this next question. So growing up, did you have any other hobbies prior to nails, or was nails something that you've always wanted to do?
So I never thought I would get into nail art, to be honest. It was something like growing up, I look back on, like we always had regular polish in the house. And I think I mostly used it to like paint my mouse pad and like I used it as paint outside of fingertips
Mhm.
to kind of customize things. We made wallets out of like duct tape and stuff like that. So nail polish was always my paint of choice. But I, played sports, so I couldn't wear it. I couldn't
Mhm.
have long nails on. I only got them done like French tips for homecoming or prom. And
Mhm.
then I would immediately like chew them off, which is so terrible to say, but I wasn't in the world yet. I didn't know. And yeah, so I never thought I'd be doing it. And so, like I said, I got into pro gaming and I thought it would be that for a while. I did
Mhm.
advertising and I was like, oh, I'm going to do this until I start my own agency. And then I also like some other hobbies. I'm really big into space and like the universe. And so when I was living out in the West Coast after ad school, NASA would invite me to come do NASA
Mm.
socials. And so
Wow.
I would go to the local facility and meet all the scientists and learn about their missions. Like the Curiosity rover was one of them I did. So when the landing happened, that was like really cool to go learn about heat shield testing and parachutes and get to see where they sort of built some of the pieces that were on that rover. And yeah, so I don't know, I've just always kind of found a weird niche thing that I
Mm.
enjoy like learning all I can about.
Mm.
So I have a ton of hobbies besides that, but it's like video games, space, and then yeah, nails is something I just kind of fell into eventually when I moved to LA.
That's really, really cool. Like, what are like some of like your favorite video games?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I'm more of like a first person shooter gamer, so Halo for me will always have a place in my heart. The original Halo 2,
Mm.
Call of Duty I've played a lot of. I play some Fortnite now. So that's always fun if you guys want to squad up for that. Um Classic games, I mean, we all I think had like some form of Nintendo at some point or a friend
Right.
did or a Sega. So a
Mm.
lot of Mario, a lot of Sonic.
Mm.
Oh gosh, there's so many games I'm probably gonna get like schooled from my friends on for not shouting out that are so much better than some of the ones I've listed. But yeah, I've always been into shooting games, and that's kind of been my thing.
Yeah, I used to be in like video games too. I got to get back into it at some point. I used to be in like Crash Bandicoot,
Hmm.
like racing games like Burnout and
Oh
Midnight
yeah.
Club and things like that. So yeah, like, and I remember when I was like in my like early teens or something like that, it was like this game called Little Big Planet. I really love playing that game.
Mm, I know it. Yeah, I didn't play much of it, but I do know of it.
Yeah, yeah, that was a popular game and things like that. Like I know like Halo and Call of Duty, those are very popular games now. Especially there's this other game called Destiny, which is like,
Yeah.
Call of Duty, but it's more like sci-fi and things like that, more futuristic.
Yeah, so it's actually really funny you bring up Destiny because eventually my career path in advertising led me to working on video games.
Mm,
And so when I was in San Francisco, I worked for an agency and we worked on Activision. So
mhm.
I got to work on Destiny, I got to work on Call of Duty, like
Wow.
Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3. I got to work on a little bit of like a game called Skylanders,
Mhm.
Guitar Hero Live when it came back out after like a 10-year hiatus. So it was really cool, this full circle moment, like starting out in my ad career and then getting to like work on video games, which I thought was going to be my career path, and
Mhm.
just kind of seeing how the sausage was made a little bit.
Yeah, right, absolutely. So how would you describe your nail art style?
Oh gosh. Well, so I don't know if I should like back up a little bit and like explain how I kind of got into nail art and that like journey, because I think that's where a lot of my influence and reference comes from. So when I was living in LA, my whole life I've always wanted to live in Japan. I've been like obsessed with Japanese culture,
Mhm.
not just animes, but like so many things. I love the respect for craft and I just kind of love the culture of the people.
Mhm.
And so I always kind of assumed at some point in my life I'll venture there and live there.
Mhm.
So I'm living in LA. I'm thinking, okay, how do I fit this into my career path in advertising? How do I make my way to agencies in Tokyo
Mhm.
or, somewhere in one of the bigger cities? And so I started taking Japanese language class.
Mhm.
And through that, I met a friend who was like, "You love Japan. Do you love Japanese nail art?" And I was like, "Well, I've never really been into nail art. I've never really done it. I've never gone over the top, just like a solid color, one coat,
Right.
gel." And so she was like, "Oh, let's go to a salon and let's get it done." So I did what everybody does. I went on Pinterest. I found a cute little, I think it was glass sheets cut up, just underneath or on top of a one coat color. And that was the very first set I got done. And I was like, oh, wow, this is way cooler than just a purple.
Mhm.
It's like a
Right.
purple with the design in it. And then I think I got a pink marble after that. And it just slowly escalated and got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mhm.
And then fast forward to I moved to New York and I'm working in advertising. I have a music video shoot I'm doing for a Sprite McDonald's campaign. And I'm like, I want this really cool motorsport nail set. I looked on Pinterest and I couldn't find what I wanted. It was like a new trend. So I ended up drawing it on my iPad.
Mhm.
And that was when I sort of unlocked this idea that I could like concept my nail art.
Mhm.
And that is where I think what was just this fun thing with my friend that was escalating became this thing where
Mhm.
now I'm going to seek inspiration from the world and what this looks like because I can come up with the ideas and I can go source the products and take
Right.
it to an artist and have them make it for me.
Right.
And so, yeah, I would say Japanese nail art is my biggest inspiration. That is by far, what the 3D elements, the big adornments, sometimes the cutesy aspect of it, because
Mhm.
my fashion is very cutesy from time to time.
Mhm.
That is very much aligned with kind of the origins of my style.
Mhm.
But then beyond that, like I've always been in fashion, so designers like Iris Van Herpen,
Mhm.
or artists like Lady Gaga,
Mhm.
Grimes, people who are sort of pushing the visual and performance side of things. That
Mhm.
inspires me, and how nail art can fit within that and elevate that not just the fashion and not just the performance or the dance or whatever it is, but
Mhm.
be kind of a component within that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that inspiration as far as can come from anywhere. And the thing with Japanese culture, and one thing I like about Japanese culture is not only like the anime, but it's just the uniqueness of just that art style, that very they're known for that kawaii style, that very cute style, and then
Yep.
it's translated into nail art. And I've got inspired by Japanese nail art, how they would do the bling nails and things like that. Just how they formulate like different like crystals and stuff like that with like the small kawaii characters. And the thing is also too, with fashion designers, you look at, like how you said, Iris Van Herpen, Alexander
Mhm.
McQueen, those
Mhm.
type of designers like Victor and Rolf, Zahir Murad. I can go on and on, but
Yeah, Mugler.
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen.
Mugler, you know what I mean? Mugler, those designers I look up to the most as well because they were more out the box, in
Hmm.
terms of what they do. Like they embroider the attention to detail is like stellar, especially Guo Pei. She's a Chinese fashion designer. Like her designs are amazing.
Yeah, like the atelier style, I really lean into that. I describe my art style as avant-garde.
Hmm.
Almost, I actually joke that it's non-functional and unnecessary
Right.
because it is. It's not, you're not going to wear it every day, I can do sets like that, but I prefer the moments where it's a red carpet or a fashion editorial
Hmm.
or a video where it's only in this moment that these make sense. Because
Right.
if you were trying to do things like your dishes,
Hmm.
you'd either destroy the nails or you would destroy your hands.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as far as your press on nail business, I want to get into that a little bit. So what has been your journey as far as having your own press on nail business? And were there any obstacles in terms of building your brand?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say it's been a very interesting journey. I didn't anticipate having a business. Like
Mhm.
when I was doing like getting my nails done and concepting it, I thought that was going to be the pinnacle. I thought, cool, I'm a creative director. I'm going to creative direct my nails and I have these cool artists, my name is Mickey Nails is who I used to go to here.
Mhm.
She was always willing, ready, like any idea I had. She
Right.
was ready to collaborate, help me like scale it when I needed to if it didn't make sense or
Mhm.
couldn't work. Um, and that was what I thought it was going to be, and it was great. And then,
Mhm.
COVID happens in New York. We're in the epicenter. Salons close, and I have on a nail set that is diamond chains,
Mhm.
three strands of it on each finger dangling off.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, now what?
Mhm.
Like, I have to take this off. This is going to start damaging my hands. And so I, just started buying some supplies and getting some things to remove it. And yeah, I mean, I think the biggest struggle for me in that moment was not knowing what to do.
Mhm.
I'm not self taught. I didn't go to beauty school. I'm not a nail tech technically.
Mhm.
And I was really scared I was going to mess things up because sitting across from Mickey, I learned so much unintentionally
Mhm.
because I would ask her questions. Why are you doing this? Why is it like this? Can you do this with this product? And
Mhm.
once I started to apply that knowledge into doing it, I was like, wow, I can really do a lot more than I anticipated.
Right.
But it was the healthcare that was always and still is concerning to me. Like, I want to make sure that I'm not, because I only do my hands pretty much,
Right.
besides press on. So yeah, like I just really wanted to make sure I did that right. And then a lot of those things that I learned in that time translated into press ons, maybe not the healthcare side, but at
Mhm.
least as far as the creation.
Right.
And and so yeah, I guess my journey was I didn't think I would be doing it for myself.
Mhm.
And then I really didn't think I'd be doing it for anyone else once I did start doing it for
Mhm.
myself. I was just playing around. I had a nail Instagram because my friends wanted to see what nail set I had on,
Mhm.
because they loved the designs I would get.
Right.
And so I just started posting on that, being like, oh, here's some fun like things I'm playing around on press-ons by myself. And then the next thing I know, I'm getting hit up by a friend being, oh, I have an editorial. Can you do a couple nail sets for this? And then I have friends who are in the drag community, and I've always been within the drag community. And they're like, when are you going to do my nails? And so then I do a press on for them. And it was just kind of this snowball effect of I didn't want it to be anything necessarily, and I wasn't planning for it. And then it just happened. And now that it is a thing, I'm
Mhm.
like, oh gosh, I have to figure out all the things. Like it's a
Right.
business. It's not just for fun anymore. This is something I could see as a livelihood and a career for myself.
Yeah, absolutely, most definitely. And I want to get into as far as just in regards to the business aspect of having a press on nail business. So, what would be some of your tips for someone who wants to start their own press on nail business, especially when it comes down to marketing, branding, and pricing and things of that nature?
Yeah, I say for me, one of the benefits to my background being in advertising as a creative director, knowing graphic design,
Hmm.
having art direction skills, I knew going into this that all the packaging and anything that I would do that people would interact with besides the nails, I wanted it to look branded and I wanted it to look professional
Right.
because that's what I do for brands. So why would I not do it for myself? So
Right.
biggest tip is think about your branding. Get yourself a logo, think about your packaging. I mean, even in the beginning, like just buy some containers and put your stickers on it and it looks like you went and got that manufactured. and then put your nails in it. So it's
Right.
these little things that I think really help. And I've actually had people come to me and say, I look up to you in the way that you package your stuff and how you've promoted your art
Right.
and how I want to do that for myself as a wig designer or as a different type of artist.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I would just say, like, think about branding for sure.
Mhm.
Get that nailed down and like what it looks like, what's your aesthetic, and what's your messaging as a brand.
Right.
I love cutesy stuff, so I call my fans nail cuties, whether anyone's realized that or not. And so I just like I love that cute aesthetic, and
Right.
because it harkens back to the Japanese art style that inspired me. So find that branding, find that sort of niche you fit in,
Right.
and lean into that because that'll differentiate you from other people. Because you'll see there's like a ton of other artists who do similar or like the idea of what I do, but I
Mhm.
found my little niche in it, I think. So people see my nails and they know they're by me versus another artist that does something similar.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get into is more into the pricing of it because there has been a lot more conversations surrounding the pricing of press-ons, nail services, and nail art and things of that nature. So, in your personal experience, what has been your experiences as far as pricing your press-on nails? Did you find it difficult in the beginning in terms of pricing your press-ons?
I still find it difficult, to be honest. um, I have these two worlds. I have this world from advertising, which I'm a creative and
Right.
I know my day rates and I know what they were in the
Mm.
beginning and I know what they are after 15 years.
Right.
And I see the similarities in how I'm building conceptual decks that I'm sending to clients with sketches, with
Mhm.
ideas, with concepts, with products. And they're approving that before I even start doing nails.
Right.
And so that to me is like when I'm pitching a client creative ideas, I'm doing the same thing.
Mhm.
So I have a hard time with the discrepancy of pay in those worlds,
Right.
because if I were like, oh, of course I should be getting the same day rate, even though it's different work, because the art I'm doing takes me days. I'm not someone who sits down in a salon and is trying to do it as quick as possible.
Mhm.
I don't even know how I would survive in that environment, to be honest. Maybe I need to test myself in order to really respect nail art.
Mhm.
But, it's one of those things that I love to think really big and
Right.
I love to sculpt. And I don't do that all in one sitting. I take my time, I build
Mhm.
some of the components, I do the nail base, and then maybe another day I compile all of it.
Right.
And then I add to it or I feedback it or, whatever it is. And so for me it's probably the most difficult thing for me, to be honest. And every time
Mhm.
I put a pricing deck together for a client, I'm like, I'm asking too much because, again, I'm sure you've heard this and
Mhm.
we've all seen it all over Instagram. Oh, nails are too expensive.
Right.
How are you charging over $100, over $200? Or even when I get into the multiple hundreds for certain sets,
Right.
it's like I know I'm going to get pushback or people are going to be like, whoa. But then I look at it and I'm like, I'm using crystal, I'm using glass, I'm using Korean and Japanese products
Right.
that I'm imported. I'm using the top end press ons and not like really cheap, flimsy stuff.
Mhm.
I'm trying to make it quality, like an
Yeah.
atelier would in fashion. It's
Right.
avant garde. And so I feel like it should be priced higher.
Mhm.
So I'm always kind of battling that self of knowing my worth and what I think the industry and clients are comfortable with.
Mhm.
And I haven't figured it out exactly, but it's working in some sense because I do reach out to other artists that I've been able to not meet in person, but online through Instagram, through other social platforms.
Mhm.
And we just kind of talk about it. We're like, what would you charge for something like this? And how long does it take you to do that? And that
Mhm.
helps me sort of gauge and validate where I'm feeling on certain aspects of it. But I do
Mhm.
think I should be priced a lot higher, and so should a lot of other artists.
Mm. Yeah, that's what I've learned over the years in terms of like my nail art and things like that. Don't be afraid to price what you're worth. And the thing is that I'm glad there's more conversation surrounding that now because that's very, very important. And it's really a thing of that we use high quality products, like how you said before. We take our time. These these sets take hours to do. So the thing is, we're going to charge over 100 or so dollars for a set of um, press on nails or like a nail enhancement service or nail art. Nail art is so
Hmm.
complex now. Very conceptual and cartoon and things of that nature. Even with like a simple manicure, that should be charged 90 something to 100 or so dollars. You know what I mean? So just there again, it's just the time and the products and also the skill you build over time. I believe that the more time you build your skill, the more you have a right to price higher. So that's how you say it's no different with these, atelier haute couture type designers, that charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for a dress and things like that. So it's just, it is kind of hypocritical with some people, because they'll spend $200 $300 on like a fashion piece or something like that, or for hair or for makeup. But it's like with
Mhm.
nails last 6 weeks. Like, if you have no problem spending money on these things, why can't you pay over $100, for some nails?
Yeah, and then when you look at the idea of, like, over the top press-ons,
Yeah.
these are things, as long as you're not damaging, you can rewear again,
Yeah.
just like you can that $250 bag you bought, you know?
Hmm.
So, I see it as, one of those investment things, just as you invest in yourself, like you said, with eyelashes, hair, fashion. Why would you not with nails? It's
Yeah.
a part of, it's an accessory, it's an extension of
Hmm.
you and your fashion and whatever it is, and
Hmm.
yeah, so I find that I'm hoping that through these conversations and that a lot of people are talking about it,
Hmm.
things will change and, artists will be able to charge more because it's just, it's a little shocking going from one world to the other and being like,
Right.
I did this over 10, 20 hours. I mean, I
Yeah.
just saw an artist who did one of the Met Gala nails and it took her 20 hours to
Hmm.
do the shape of the nail,
Hmm.
And as an artist, I see that and I'm like, yeah, I can imagine it took that long. You're drilling and you're filing and and even though the paint on top was just a simple kind of like V French, it
Right.
it still is something that took a long, long time. So yeah, I hope that as people get booked, get more exposure, get more opportunities, those prices increase and then they share that. So
Hmm.
other artists know to ask for that too. That's something in advertising I did for a long time
Hmm.
and still do, which is confide in my friends. Tell them what I make. I'm not trying to rub it in anyone's faces, but if I make more than you and we do the same thing, you should be
Hmm.
getting paid that. That's how we all like make a better life for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is really that, nails take time. Nails take a lot of time, and nails is an art form just like anything else. Fashion, in terms of nails, that plays a role within fashion. So, to have good quality nails, and plus for it to be, utilized over a longer period of time, that's a good thing. Especially press on
Yeah.
nails.
Mhm. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to go ahead and get into the next question. So, you did mention you have, friends in the drag race scene, the drag scene, excuse me. So one of my favorite shows is RuPaul's Drag Race, hands down. You've done nails for the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race season 16, Nymphia Wind. So I want to get into that. So tell us a story of how you and Nymphia met, and how did you develop a relationship over time?
It's such a funny story. So, as I mentioned, I've been in the drag community for a long time. Everywhere I've lived
Mm-hmm.
since I was a teenager, I've been going to drag shows, meeting drag queens, being friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
But being in New York, I got the first opportunity to like be on a team and co-collaborate, do creative direction, make nail art for an artist named Snicks. And that was kind of how I got my start within doing nails for drag artists.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually referred me to somebody else named Felicia O. And so
Mm-hmm.
throughout the whole like the original sets that I made that were a part of the show, I didn't know who I was making them for. Like I had this mediary in Felicia and she was sort of like giving me feedback and it was all very secret, like secrecy. I didn't know. The
Mm-hmm.
thing is I ended up knowing who Nymphia was. I had seen them a year prior. They had just come to New York from Taiwan. They'd been there about a year, but I saw one of their very
Mm-hmm.
first shows. I have some footage of it and it's really cute to see like the difference from then to where they are now. But yeah, so it wasn't until I finished the original sets that I went to go drop them off and they were like, "Okay, you're going to go to so and so's house now." And I show up and I'm like, "Hi, nice to meet you."
Mm-hmm.
And then they went and flew off like the next day to go film the show. So I didn't really know them personally a lot beforehand, but obviously when they were off filming, I went and did what we all do and I looked them up on the internet and I looked at all of their work, realized I knew who they were, realized I had seen them perform, and then
Mm-hmm.
just like gathered a huge appreciation for their art and what they've done in Taiwan and how they've really brought that culture and then seeing the show and doing sets after that, multiple ones for promo day, for press day, for the finale.
Hmm.
Um, it's been a wild experience because it's something that when I started doing nails for drag queens, I had a thought, well, it would be really cool if I did nails for Drag Race. And then
Hmm.
to have, the first time I did the queen win, I don't know, it's really been life-changing and it's super surreal and I still am kind of processing it, as I'm sure like Nymphia even more so because it's their win and their
Hmm.
victory. But
Yeah.
I just feel really thankful to have known them, and now that we've worked together, like obviously I know them a lot more than I did before when I didn't know who they were. But yeah, so that's
Hmm.
kind of been the short of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is with Drag Race, it promotes, like, it showcases the diversity as far as like the art, the beauty, and the fashion aspect of drag. It's a fashion type competition type of thing. Of course, it's added with comedy and things of that nature. But with Nymphia, like, I loved what they were doing in terms of their looks and how haute couture they were, and for them
Mm-hmm.
to be in the top three, as far as with, Saphira and Plain Jane. And, it's really cool for you to see like their journey, throughout Drag Race. And I would go to drag shows during my time in college. There was this club called Club One. I would see the drag queens perform and things like that. I've done certain drag queens' nails, and I painted one drag queen. They like some body painting, but it was a cool experience just interacting, in different environments, especially, supporting the LGBTQ community and what they do. So it's really, really cool to see what they do.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I maybe didn't say this earlier on, but drag has obviously been a huge inspiration for the art I do because
Right.
I always think, what would my nails look like within a drag look? And like you
Hmm.
said, they're a lot of times making their own garments, they're conceptualizing their own garments, they're doing their own hair, their own makeup. Sometimes they're even doing their own nails,
Hmm.
So it's truly just an inspiration to see how talented these people are and
Hmm.
what their skills are, whether they're trained in schooling or not.
Hmm.
And so I think as I got into nail art, I was like, well, if people can do this amazing, and whatever it is, then I can at least do that in the littlest way through nail art. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, I mean, I'm thankful for the drag community. They have always accepted me and who I am. They've helped me find who I am.
Hmm.
And it's just something that, being in a queer space,
Hmm.
you get to just be more yourself, especially as a queer person, and you feel safe. And to get to create in these spaces it's just, I mean, I couldn't ask for a better situation. I feel so truly fortunate for all of it.
Hmm. Now, if you had a top four list of your favorite drag queens, who would they be and why?
Oh gosh, 4 is so hard. I was, like, thinking about this last night really hard, and I was just like, "Oh, how can I choose 4?" I mean, besides Nymphia, of course, because that is my queen. Raja, iconic. I
Hmm.
mean, fashion photo review, just their personality. I feel like someone like Raja and I would just get along, like, hanging out,
Yeah, I met
just
Raj.
chilling
Raj is really
together.
cool.
Yeah. And then so my neighbor downstairs does PR for a handful of queens, and you know, I'm obsessed with two of them in particular, which is Jinx Monsoon and Sasha Velour.
Hmm.
I feel like Jinx brings such another side of the entertainment of being an actress and a performer and a comedian
Hmm.
that like other drag queens I hope will also have opportunities to do, but just really has kicked that door down and said, this is who we are and we can be anywhere and everywhere. And I
Hmm.
look forward to watching the Doctor Who episode tonight that she's in.
Hmm.
Sasha Velour, I mean, the art that their drag style brings. I mean, they're also like a graphic designer, so they
Hmm.
they kind of illustrate most of their stuff, they design most of their work, and I'm really inspired by that because it just shows you that you can kind of be this like, I don't want to like say this in a disparaging way because I don't find it to be, but like an oddball, you can be different. You
Hmm.
can be someone who's not seen
Right.
as a traditional artist, and because they're a ball drag queen, that's not
Hmm.
something you would assume would be a thing, but they do it and they do it so well, and they
Hmm.
bring just another style you don't see a lot of. So those three for sure, and then I actually have five, so I'm kind of cheating here, but I've
All
always
right.
been obsessed with kimchi. I feel
Hmm.
like when I saw kimchi on their season and what they did with makeup. It's obviously very like Japanese, very kawaii, very
Mhm.
big and over the top.
Mhm.
That really, really inspired me. And then I met them at DragCon in 2017 when I went for the first time, and they were so sweet. And
Mhm.
I don't know, I just like love everything about what they do. And then the last season's winner, season 15, Sasha Colby,
Mhm.
just gorgeous. I mean, like, I don't know that I'll ever be woman enough, looking at Sasha Colby because she's just so talented, so iconic. And I mean, if that finale episode look coming out with the earrings that were pasties, that
Mhm.
says enough. Just go look at that picture, look at their drag, and that says enough.
Mm. Have you looked at any of the other drag race franchises like France or Germany, things like that? What's your thoughts on those franchises?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to go like international, I mean, the most recent seasons with Marina Summers or
Hmm.
La Grande Dame, Hanaconda,
Hmm.
the UK versus the world, Tia Coffee, like obsessed
I
with all
love
of
Tia
those queens.
Coffee.
I would love to work with any of them, and I hope they see this somewhere and reach out to me. But yeah, I mean, I actually am in the process. You can't tell right now, but I'm in the process of packing up all my things, and I'm going to be going nomadic and meeting people around the world and trying to meet other nail artists, and kind of not the same thing you're doing, but I just want to meet people, and I want to learn their history, and I want to learn about their art, and I want to get better at my art through that. And
Mm-hmm.
I just want to like see the world and meet more people and make more art. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to get more international and go to Europe soon, and maybe even do DragCon UK because I'm going to be exhibiting at the LA event in July.
All
And
right, congrats.
so, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I would say my top four. I would say Shea Coulee.
Oh,
She's absolutely talented. The
mm-hmm.
next person I would say is Kelly Hilton from Drag Race Germany.
Okay.
She's a black drag queen. She's very,
Mm-hmm.
very talented as well, very funny, has a lot of personality. I would say my third, who would I say is my third? I would say Monet Exchange. Monet Exchange is very, very talented, very, very
Yes.
cool. And I would say my last one, I would really say, what's another drag queen? Vanity Milan. And also, too,
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably cheat also. Raja O'Hara. Those are drag queens I
Mm-hmm.
really, really like.
Yeah, those are all. I mean, there's so many. Like, I mean, you could throw a Simone in there. You could throw so many
Yeah, Queen
queens that
Kong.
just like yeah, like just so many. I mean, it's there's because there's so many franchises and so many of the US seasons. It's really hard to say like, oh, top 5. We need like a top 20 or something.
Yeah, yeah. Now, another one that's an honorable mention is Kiana from Drag Race France.
Okay,
Kiana,
I don't know if I know her too well.
yeah, she was in the second season of Drag Race France. She won Drag Race France, and she was in the show called Legendary that used to be on, but I think it got
Hmm.
canceled. I think to my understanding, you know, she's the mother of the House of Revlon in Paris, in France.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's very, very
Yeah,
talented.
that was a fun show. I think it did get canceled though, unfortunately. Which hopefully there'll be some other ballroom shows that come out.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. I hope so too. One of the documentaries I really, really liked was Paris is Burning. Talking about the ballroom scene in the '80s and things like that. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
so crazy. Even with like the ballroom culture, it's made such a huge impact, especially with fashion and with art and with music. Especially house music. You know what I mean? So it's really like it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at Madonna's whole tour, right
Hmm.
now with Bob the Drag Queen, and you can just see the influence of ballroom culture and how it's mainstream now, which is so cool to see. Like even thinking about Drag Race coming out in 2009,
Mm.
which, was a while ago, but also not that long ago,
Right.
you know, because I kept thinking, oh, I was really young when I saw it. And then I was like, no, I was in college when season 2 came out. So,
Hmm.
you know, it's been such a part of my adult life that I don't
Hmm.
know, it's really wild and amazing to see its growth from the idea of like Paris is Burning and kind of the original ballroom scene in New York, and then it now being on an HBO show,
Hmm.
being this show on MTV now. And I don't know, it's really exciting because I think a lot more queer kids get to see
Hmm.
opportunities for themselves. And I've known people personally who they in LA go and they walk in the balls, and they were not doing that before, and they were kind of a little self-conscious about doing it, and now
Mhm.
they're like owning walking. And I don't know, it's really exciting to see.
Even with like Beyonce's tour, like the Renaissance tour, that whole Renaissance album was dedicated to the LGBTQ plus community, especially the
Yeah.
ballroom scene. And I liked how with Beyonce's tour, she put on a lot of people in that community, that are in the
Hmm.
ballroom scene,
Big
to
freedom.
perform and
Hmm.
to dance to express themselves. So that was really cool to see that Beyonce was not only about having music that represented ballroom, but also having the people that are in ballroom, perform with her.
Yeah, I mean, because it's you kind of can't take from the culture without bringing it with you.
Right.
You've got to include the people who have been doing it, who've been
Hmm.
continuing to evolve it and shape it, because otherwise you are just appropriating it. So
Hmm.
I do every time I see situations like that, I really appreciate it, because then it's kind of keeping to the origins of it and what
Hmm.
it's meant to do. But we still have a lot of progress to go. We have a lot of things to keep fighting for. They're still trying to ban drag in states and in different cities, and
Hmm.
discriminate. If you've watched the show We're Here on HBO that just started airing the new season,
Hmm.
um, it's really interesting to watch the perspective of these small towns in the South and
Hmm.
how they're so anti, and they'll do
Hmm.
anything and everything to try and outlaw performing, which
Hmm.
is so silly when you think about it.
Wow. I want to push forward and talk about as far as the Decentraland. So you collaborate with the Decentraland to create digital nail art. How did that opportunity come about?
Yeah, so getting in the metaverse, I jumped in March 2020, and I actually came in to watch Grimes perform for Fashion Week. So that's kind of how I got in these like online digital spaces.
Hmm.
And then just by being there, hanging out with people, going to parties, going to festivals and things like that, like you would IRL, but you're a digital avatar doing it, with big brands like Absolute doing this Coachella activation, both digitally and
Hmm.
physically. And, just getting to know people globally and seeing this amazing world that's online that
Right.
I can tap into at any point, at any time of day. Someone's there doing something, and I'm learning from other people and their cultures. So, being in for a few months, there was this group called Face Fashion House, and they were doing a fashion grant.
Hmm.
And it was like, you can apply for this grant, say a little bit about yourself and what you do, and you'll get an opportunity to work with somebody who makes the clothing in the digital space. They'll
Hmm.
help you design something, and then there's like fees you have to pay to submit them and publish them, so they were covering the fees.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of this like opportunity for new people to get in and like get creating something that they maybe wouldn't have. And
Hmm.
even though I have creative background skills and like Adobe programs, I'm not a
Right.
3D modeler. I didn't know how to use any of those programs, so I applied as a nail artist. And this was, again, 2022 was kind of when I decided, okay, let's turn this into something
Right.
instead of just fun.
Hmm.
And so I was like, oh, I'll present myself as a nail artist. And this is
Hmm.
like the first time I'll communicate myself as a nail artist first versus my creative director background.
Hmm.
And I ended up winning the fashion grant. And I got to make it was a bubble top, and it had bubble nails,
Hmm.
and it was very cute. And the person, Mitchie Todd, I made it with, is still my good friend. And it really kind of catapulted me into this space within the community that, like, I'm a nail artist and I'm going to start making nail art wearables. And
Hmm.
so I found another artist in the space who had put just simple glow nails on a wearable, and I was
Hmm.
like, "Hey, do you want to collaborate? You know how to 3D model. I don't. I have all these ideas. Let's work together." And then eventually, fast forward a year later, and we're in March 2023,
Hmm.
and it's Fashion Week again, and the platform Decentraland reaches out to me and says, "Hey, do you want a big plot of land to do an activation on?" And so having leaned into my nail art, experience and career at that point for about a year,
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, let's do something nail art related. So I wanted to kind of look into the history of nail art and what that looks like. And I discovered that we've been adorning our fingertips like since we have like record of human history.
Hmm.
We've been, for various reasons, whether it's been for war, for protecting the nails, because they're
Hmm.
so fragile, and it's for class systems.
Right.
It kind of spans all sorts of cultures and spaces all over the world.
Right.
So I kind of got together as much as I could find on the internet and from some of the books that are online and sourced together this history of nail art. And it was this really fun experience. You could walk in as an avatar, and it's kind of like a museum, and you could go through and click through and like learn all this history. But after doing that, I realized like it's not comprehensive. There are so many cultures left out of it. There's so many continents left out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of become a little personal mission of mine that, like I mentioned earlier, I kind of want to go around and I want to meet people and I want to learn what they know of the history and I want to meet them and like learn their style of it. And I want to
Mm-hmm.
go to places where maybe that information isn't on the internet yet, but it's in a library somewhere and
Mm-hmm.
try to find ways to get that on the internet. And
Mm-hmm.
just kind of develop more of what this actual history looks like because
Right.
when people say, "Oh, well, nail art this, it's frivolous." I'm like, "It's not. It's political and it's been a part of our lives
Right.
forever." And you can't discredit it, you know? And if you knew the history of it, I think people would appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely not. Have you ever thought about having like your own like nail art type NFTs at all?
So yeah, actually, all the wearables that you make in Decentraland are NFTs.
Okay.
So every piece of nail art I've made there is an NFT. I've also, I don't know if you know the digital platform DressX. It's
Yeah, Dress X.
basically yeah, so it's like an AR clothing fashion app. And so I brought nail art for the first time to that platform. So I have some press ons there that you can try on, and it's really fun. And it's a part of this whole lore of this alien planet, Lilaca. So yeah, I have a handful of them, and I will keep creating them. And I think they'll always kind of be a part of the fun blend of tech and digital realities I love to be in.
Yeah, that's really really cool. There's another nail artist that do like they she has her nail art as NFTs. I forgot her name. Her name is Vivian Shu. She's like part Brazilian, part Asian, and
Mm.
so she does her own nail art NFTs. There's another NFT artist. She's black and she's done like nail art NFTs and things like that. So it's really really cool to see how people are combining tech with nail art. The AR and VR, augmented reality, virtual reality. How you said DressX, metaverse.
Mhm.
You got Decentraland, the Sandbox, and
Yep.
and different platforms of that nature. So it's really cool how tech has really evolved.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's something that like we spend so much time playing video games or in
Mhm.
online world. Kids are playing a ton of Roblox, and
Yeah.
there's nail art of Roblox. So, as an artist, why would you not be trying to find ways to have digital versions of your art? That people can experience and learn who you are and learn about the art form itself. I don't know. I think it's cool, and
Mhm.
I'll keep trying to put it in any reality I find.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. You got platforms like Second Life, IMVU, the
Yep.
Sims, and the thing is, what I liked about the Sims, especially there's a site called the Sims Resource. I don't know if you heard of that site, but
I have not played a lot of Sims recently. It's been a while.
yeah, I haven't played Sims in years. But the thing is with the Sims, what I liked about it is, especially the Sims resource. It's a website where there's a lot of 3D artists that do like foods and places and outfits and stuff like that. Um, I like how people are exploring a different way of expression, and I think we got more into the whole thing with metaverse fast before it was even a metaverse. Like how you
Mm.
say with the video games and stuff like that. So, but also too, I want to get into as far as AI because I think definitely AI is really growing and growing and growing, growing, growing. So, what's your take as far as AI in the beauty industry?
I mean, I love seeing it intermixed with it. I think it could be a really valuable tool. I mean, for me as a creative, I use it as like, when I'm finding references or imagery and I am trying to like, or even patterns or whatever, I'll just go to AI and I'll like input some prompts and it'll spit something out. And, maybe I don't love all of it, but every now and again, there's something there
Right.
that I'm like, oh, that's great. And then I open that in Photoshop and I continue to add to it like a mock up or a rendering or whatever it is. And then it evolves this idea. And all of a sudden, when I would be scouring the internet, looking on Pinterest, Google search, whatever means I use to find reference imagery,
Hmm.
I just have AI do it so much faster for me, and I'm able to put my, ideas together much quicker.
Hmm.
Um, I love the idea that people can use it to sort of fast forward parts of the process, especially in coding. So when you are doing, 3D, VR, AR stuff. There's coding involved in some of that besides just what
Mhm.
it looks like in 3D. And you can go to ChatGPT and you can ask it, how do I do this in this program? And it'll like lay out all the code for you. Mind you, it might not always be right. You gotta like know a little bit.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily like from scratch everything, but
Mhm.
it's enough to like guide you and to help you or help you find resources too. That's something that I don't think people realize. You can use it as a bit of a search engine to find where, like, how do I do something like this? And it might even reference a YouTube video
Right.
or a website you can go to. And so I think as a companion amongst your creation, it's really great. And I think
Mhm.
too, the other side of it is getting beyond the physical limitations of our reality is really great because AI, when it does come up with these fantastical images, you're like, well, that building would never exist in real life. But
Mhm.
if I want to build it in the metaverse, now it can because
Mhm.
I don't have to worry about it falling over.
Right.
It's code.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. So I want to get into as far as nail products. So what has been some of your favorite nail products to use for like press on nails?
Oh gosh. So I use a lot of soft gel press-ons. If you
Mhm.
know the brand, I think you had Carol on
Mhm.
a previous episode.
Yeah.
So I use their press-ons.
Mhm.
I've been using their high gloss top coat as well. That's something new that I just started trying out. Um, I use Ice Gel, is a Korean
Mhm.
Japanese brand. So I love their base coats, their top coats, basically the whole nail care system that they have, like 1 through 5 is really good. They also have a ton of
Mhm.
like neon chrome powders and other things that I really like to get to.
Mhm.
Candy Coat is sort of my go-to for colors. It's a
Mm.
UK brand.
Yeah, candy coat.
What's really fun about them, you spend like over $30 and you get some like UK candy. So I'm always here for a moment where I get some sweet with my products.
Mm.
Um, oh gosh, I'm like trying to like look around at all of my nail products right now. I've used some Medusa gels as well. I
Mm.
like
Medusa.
their products. Yeah, that's a US based brand.
Mm.
IBD, I use a lot of their building gel. That's kind of like the core of like all the things I do.
Mm.
And then, yeah, just, the rest of the stuff is just kind of like here and there products. No necessarily brand loyalty.
Mm. Yeah, that's really, really cool. There's so many products out, like chromes, and then there's chrome gel, there's gold chrome gel, and all this other stuff. There's so many stuff that's out, that comes out every year. Like I love 3D gel. I love
Hmm.
like the chromes. I love like bright, vibrant gel colors. If it's a good, bright, vibrant gel color, I'm getting it.
Yeah, and you're so good with colors. Like looking at your work after we connected, I'm really inspired by your stuff and how you're just because I use a lot of color, but it's like the way you use it, it's almost like you're making patterns and designs with it in ways that like I hadn't considered. So gonna have to maybe like try to recreate one of your sets one day and see if I do a good job of it.
Thank you so much. I want to get into as far as the nail industry. So I've asked every nail artist this question. So in your perspective, coming from a press on nail artist point of view, what are some things you like about the nail industry, and what are some things you think the nail industry could be improved on?
From my perspective, being self-taught, I like how approachable some of it is, like I have pretty much had ease of access to products,
Mhm.
like there are some limitations with certain sites being like, oh, you need to be a pro artist in order to access the gels. And sometimes there might be like certain hoops you got to jump through to do that. Other times you just like sign up with your email and you're in, you know? So like that's been nice that I like didn't feel like, oh, I have to go through a salon in
Mhm.
order to do this, or that I even have to go to school to do this.
Mhm.
This is something that I can just pick up the stuff and play around on my desk and see what it looks like, and if people like it, they want to buy it. um, some of the issues I guess I have, you know, I am not involved in any of said drama that may be happening from time to time, but I don't like seeing when other artists are saying, oh, you're copying my style or you're doing this. And it's like, well, I mean, no, nobody's really, like, unless they're like one for oneing an exact design, like, styles and inspirations come from the history of many cultures. And so you can't
Mhm.
really come after somebody for taking your style when it maybe wasn't your style to begin with.
Mhm.
So I don't like seeing some of that, and I've seen that from time to time. Luckily, I don't interact with a lot of those people, and
Mhm.
and I'm not a part of any of that stuff, but it does hurt me because it's like we're all trying to do this. We're all trying to uplift this like industry and this idea of this art form. So why are we like trying to cutthroat each other and
Hmm.
like come after one another when instead we should be like collaborating? I don't know. I have friends who always say it's not competition but collaboration.
Mm. Yeah, most definitely. It's good to collaborate with other creatives and things like that. And that's the beauty about the industries where you get to collaborate, and you get to be inspired by other people. So that's really the thing too. So definitely with this nail industry, with so many products out, so many styles out, the possibilities are just endless with nail art.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to get into as far as nail art. So if you had a top five list of your favorite nail artists, who would they be and why?
Oh gosh. Well, I have to shout out my mentors that I've had, of course, because if it wasn't for them, like I wouldn't be anywhere where I'm at, which is Yakuza Fingers out of LA. She
Mhm.
was my very first nail artist that I went to get Japanese nail art done. She allowed me to like evolve and like take her designs and get those done instead of her coming up with them or
Mhm.
just recreating something. So she unlocked a new world for me. My name is Mickey Nail, as I mentioned earlier, the artist I went to here in New York. I mean, she's really just crushing it right now. She was doing nails for Ariana, and like
Wow.
she's just such a sweetheart. And like, I'm so thankful for her. And then another artist that's been a big mentor to me is Victoria on 10. And I
Mm.
know she kind of went through a little bit of a retirement. I think she's coming out of it,
Mm.
but she had done nails for Grimes and many artists. More of a like she does the fine line work, like drawings kind of style, really well. So that's something I'm not like the best at and getting better at.
Mhm.
So having someone like her to be able to like ask questions and bounce ideas off has been great.
Mhm.
But aside from the people that have like helped shape me personally, I've always looked up to people like Brittany Tokyo was kind of one of the first like big nail artists I heard about, and Yakuza Fingers, who I used to go to, she
Mhm.
was the one that like was kind of an apprentice of her. And then with My Name is Mickey Nails,
Mhm.
Nails by May was kind of,
Mhm.
she was an apprentice of her. And then Soji Nails,
Mhm.
I love the way she like plays with organics and making things look like organic objects because I love the idea of like future alien organics and what that looks like. I'm
Right.
always trying to like come
Mhm.
up with that on nails. Um, the editorial nail, I've
Mhm.
been following her for a while. I doubt she even knows who I am, but like I see her and what she's doing and how she's like developed products and has a business. It's like really inspiring. Um, there's a couple male artists too, Texto Dallas, Nails by Juan. I mean,
Mhm.
you don't see a ton of male artists and
Mhm.
just who they are and the style they do,
Right.
Texto using 3D printing, just like Tamoyan, the Japanese artist as well, using 3D printing. That's super inspiring, and I would love to start 3D printing some things now that I have some 3D skills. Um,
Mhm.
and then Coca Michelle. I mean, I
Mhm.
referenced her earlier in the nail she did for the Met Gala that she did for Cardi B that
Mhm.
took 20 plus hours. And I don't know, I just feel like I've been following her for a long time and her work and always inspired by those people. There's so many more, but that was kind of the list. I was like, that's a nice variety.
Yeah, that's really really cool. So how do you juggle being a press on nail artist with life and mental health?
Well, for me, doing nail art is kind of therapy. I don't know. Like I get like in maybe that's why it takes me a little bit longer than most cuz I just like I get in the zone. I put some music on or I put something on TV and
Right.
I'm just kind of vibing with myself and I'm like, do I like this? Do I not? And then like by the time I'm done, I'm always like, "Oh my gosh, I just made that. I can't believe it." Like
Right.
I just am in such a zone that I almost don't like I'm not fully aware of what's happening. I'm just like letting the creative flow out of me and onto the nails. And so every time I finish a set, it's like, I don't know, like making this creative baby and you're seeing it and you're like, it's going to go out in the world and it's going to live. And I don't know. It's therapy to me and it just brings me so much joy and it makes me happy. And even though there are things about business that are annoying and we all don't want to do, knowing I'm doing it for this
Mhm.
makes me want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Last but not least, where can people find you on social media and how can people support you and your business?
So on pretty much every platform, it's at CK Designed It. Twitter is I am CK Bubbles. I have the CK designed it handle, but I haven't really built it up as much. So I'm just like, go to the main one. And then how to support me, just follow me, look at my stuff, share my stuff, reach out if you want some nails. I mean, I am going to be at DragCon LA in July. So if you're a drag queen and you want some nails done, or even if you're just somebody attending or not, or you're in LA and you just want some nails while I'm there, let me know. I want to like connect and just do more art.
That's really, really cool. Well, thank you so much, CK, for jumping on. I love what you're doing, especially for the drag community. I really enjoyed our conversation, talking about art, fashion, and nails and things of that nature. So I really enjoyed our conversation, getting to know you and your story. So thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity and discussion.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out. I'm so glad we connected, and I look forward to chatting more soon.
Yes, absolutely. Take care.
You too.
Bye bye. Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on my social media platforms and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care, stay healthy, and stay beautiful. Bye bye.